Hello, everyone, and welcome to the 5 Tips and Tricks for Careers in Athletics. I'm your host, Dr. Maury Mosfitz, with my all-time most favorite, most wonderful co-host of all times, Jen Albanese. Hello, Jen.
Hi, Maury. Welcome to the podcast, everybody. What's going on?
So we have a woman who you work with on a regular basis
I
from the
do. I
conference
do.
office,
Yes. Yes.
Caroline Gagen, who
Yes.
is doing some awesome things with marketing and working out of Charlotte with all the 18 schools in the ACC, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, super cool. Gotten to know her really, really well. Obviously, the ACC is great about collaboration, and we meet monthly, and it's really, really cool. We work with them often, so it's great to have her. Exciting. We haven't really had anybody from a conference office, so this
No.
will be a cool conversation, different perspective, I think. So people will like that. I hope so.
It made me think about, we've been at Syracuse long enough where we transitioned
Yeah,
conferences,
that's
and
right.
it was like one of those things of like, in your life, like, where were you when you found out? And
I know.
I was like, okay, like, it was like kind of shocking because it was kept a really pretty strong secret. Not a lot of
Yeah.
people knew. And
Mm-hmm.
then it was
Mm-hmm.
just a release that us and Pitt are leaving and going to ACC. I
Mm-hmm.
was standing on the field hockey field prepping for something. I
Oh wow.
remember being on Coin Field, hearing about it.
Mm-hmm.
I think I was by myself. I don't know what happened, if it came through in a text message on my phone or something, but I remember vividly that, I'm standing there and like, oh my God, we're leaving the Big East. We're not going to be a part of that anymore. And
Yeah.
like just trying to contemplate what it meant to switch conferences. So
Yeah. I mean, again, back then it was so uncommon for
yeah, it
teams
wasn't a
to,
big deal.
I mean, now obviously it's
Yeah.
like every year people are moving and changing conferences, but back then it was very uncommon. And we had been in the Big East for, I mean, how long? Like
Yeah. I
crazy
think
amount of time.
founding members of it. Yeah.
Exactly, like so long. So much history there. So it was funny. I was in New York City visiting my friend, one of my best friends, Kara, and I think it was like a text or an email or something came through that said like we're switching conferences on blah 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 date, and we're going to the ACC. And I was like, what? Like this is insane. So it was crazy, but in the end, I mean, awesome, and has been such an incredible experience to be a part of the ACC, and the conference is growing so much and continuing to add schools. Obviously, we
Yeah.
just added, Cal and Stanford and SMU, right? Those were the three last
Yep.
year that got added. So, strong conference and, has
Yeah. I
been
mean,
great.
it's kind of interesting because from a professional standpoint, like getting to be a part of 2 conferences, but even at the same institution, which is kind of weird because
Right, right.
now we've seen it like different things, and different conferences work in different ways and
Different
have
ways.
different
Yeah.
history, and it's kind of
Mm-hmm.
a cool thing to learn and be involved with, and just know the kind of culture that has, or how they deal with
Mm-hmm.
one another. And it really was an interesting aspect of the job and getting to learn about it. So I don't think people realize how much effect conferences can have on what you do in a collegiate setting, and how
Yeah,
that is so
absolutely.
important, and how like the schools need to be
Mm-hmm.
in alignment with that. And I'm very fortunate that I have resources and people that I've worked with for a long time now, since we've transitioned, that I reach out to and say, the other day I had an issue, and I like wrote
Yeah,
out and I said,
yeah.
hey man, what am I doing here? And they're quick to help. And that's what's really great about the conference staff. Caroline, clearly one of those great
Yes.
people. So
Fantastic. Yeah.
it's one of those things that if you're a young person that has not been exposed to that before, and most of you probably wouldn't be, because it's really something that even more senior staff often engage with the
Mm-hmm.
conference staff, or junior staff might be a little bit less. But yeah, find out about it, talk about it, learn about what it takes to be in those roles, because it's a pretty neat thing.
Yeah, it's really cool. And again, like obviously in the landscape of what college athletics is today, conferences are so in the conversation and into everything that's going on with all the realignment and everything. So, from that perspective, it's just so interesting to see what's going on with all of that. So,
Yeah, and even
um,
at all levels too. I mean,
right, it's
D1,
not
2, and
just
3.
D1, right?
Yeah, like it sets so much of the tone about how your school operates in a way, and what's
Mm-hmm.
your values and the way in which you look to operate and do things. It's a pretty fascinating part of the collegiate setting where, if you're pro sports, you're in the
Mm-hmm.
pro lexicon,
Yeah,
and the ownership
right,
makes decisions, as a group, which
right.
is very different than what this
Then
is. So,
yeah.
yeah. definitely learn about it. And we'll start that off with Caroline after these messages.
Are you a loyal 5 Tips and Tricks podcast listener? If not, now is the time to start. Get all your info and fun content on the podcast by following us on all our social channels at @AthCareerPod. The 5 Tips and Tricks podcast is a part of Athletic Career Consulting. Make sure to reach out to us. The one-stop shop for everything is our website, www.athcareer.com. Remember, follow and like us on @AthCareerPod, rate and review us, and get all your info at www.athcareer.com. Okay, everybody, welcome back. Maury, would you like to introduce our guest today?
For sure. From the heart of Raleigh, North Carolina, our guest today has always had a passion for sports, one that began with a love for hockey and the Carolina Hurricanes. She turned that passion into the purpose of starting with her Bachelor's of Science in International Business and Business Administration Management from UNC Greensboro. Her professional journey in college athletics began at Wake Forest University, where she helped shape the fan experience for volleyball, men's soccer, and baseball as a fan experience and sales coordinator. From there, she headed west to Sam Houston State University, taking on responsibilities of leading marketing efforts for all 17 varsity sports, a role she held for over a year and a half. Now bringing her talents to the Athletic Coast Conference, she continues to drive engagement and strategic marketing as the Assistant Director of Marketing, a role she stepped into in November 2023. Pleased to welcome Caroline Gagen. Welcome.
Hi, thank you for having me.
Hi, we're very excited.
Excited to be on.
Thank you so much for doing this. We're very excited to have you.
Yeah, we have not had anyone from like a conference office talk about kind of their perspective. So I think this is really important because people don't always realize all the differences and things that come up. And you've been on campuses, but now you're working in a conference office. So I'm sure it's insight that people would really appreciate.
Yeah, happy to provide that insight where I can.
Yes,
awesome.
And Caroline and I email all the time, so she's very familiar with, hey, Jen, we need this. Hey, Jen, we need this. So
perfect timing, too, because we do have a marketing director call tomorrow, so it
lines up well. Exactly. You're going to be like, hey, talked to you last night. So.
Long time no see.
I know. Exactly. So when we were talking about it, I was like, Caroline would be so great. So we're excited to have you. So
yeah,
appreciate it.
We're looking forward to your tips. So you want to start off with your first one?
Yeah. I think to start off, one of the biggest ones that I've stressed to like student workers in the past or anyone who's like reached out and asked questions is to be open-minded. And that's really broad intentionally. It can go from where you want to work, like location-based on the map. I think that especially when you're starting off, it is very important to be very open. You don't want to create limits for yourself because then you're might close some doors that you didn't know could be open. I once said I would never live in Texas growing up, and then I worked in Sam Houston, so it worked out really well. But also like being open to the level of what you work at or the institution type, whether it's college or pro. And then when you get into pro, whether you want to do major versus minor leagues, or an MMR group, maybe you want to work for Learfield or Van Wagner. I just think it goes a long way for keeping that door open for anything possible. Also, you might discover something that you liked so much more than another. Same goes with internships. I worked in both marketing and facilities and operations when I was in school. So love both. Marketing was what stuck and kind of where I flourished.
Yeah, no, that's great. I like the where you might not know you like something. That point I think is really interesting because I think students like have a thought in their mind like, okay, I'm going to go do X. And if they're not open-minded and in those internships or whatever, they don't keep that like open mind and opportunities to try everything. I always say that too, like try everything because something might spark you and say, oh, I really like that. And I never even thought that I would like something like that. So I love that keeping open, especially in the internship phase of like you're a senior, junior in college, and that's the time to try everything. So I like that. I really like that one.
I'm going to add on to Jen because we recently had a situation where people didn't give it enough time either to to get like the background, that they only spent like a week and thought, oh, this is different than what I thought, and didn't give it the time to like kind of work through it, and are like, okay, I'm no longer going to do it. And we were like, we both were surprised. We both had people recently that did that. And hopefully for those people, especially young people out there, it takes some time to really get a full feel of what these positions are. Like you said, like being open to it, it's hard to know exactly what something is in a short period of time. It takes a while to get your feet under you and understand it and get concepts of what it's like. And the more experience you can get, whether it's, you know, volunteering or doing stuff, or, you know, trying different things and being open, like you said, is really going to help you with context. So for those young people out there, don't give up after a week. Give it the commitment that you put into it.
Stick with it for a little bit.
Please don't give up after a week. Now, Maury and I are it's very recent. It's like opening up that wound again. Like, okay, it was like mid-September, and they're like, "This isn't what I signed up for," and we're like,
well,
"What? You know?"
That's what we said in the interview, so it's pretty much what we told you.
Yeah. I actually like prime example, and like I had a former student manager or student assistant at Sam Houston who swore she wanted to do pro sports, and she ended up doing that. She worked, did an internship in the NHL with the St. Louis Blues. Called me about halfway through the season, and was like, I miss college athletics. And after she swore up and down to me she'd never go back, and now she's an assistant director at University of South Dakota. So I like to use her as an example, and she'll get a kick out of it. But
you never know until you try. Like, you really have to understand it and go through it. Awesome. Great tip.
And she kept her mind open to be able to try everything. And it's okay to go back to and be like, you know what? I was right. I liked college athletics, or, you know, so good one. Good.
Okay. Number 2.
2 is more for success within a role, but like detail matters. I can't stress that enough. I have stressed that to student workers and interns and over time, and some of my peers around the industry. But the product you're putting out, you want all the detail to matter. You don't want to sweep something under the rug. Everyone's looking, and even if you don't know it, fans notice. If you ever read a fan survey, it's the most humbling experience in your life. But like you see what people are seeing, exactly. Super insightful. And from there, like if you're paying attention to that detail at the start, it's going to make your life so much easier in the long run. Your product's going to look very good. In turn, I guess if you want to view it one way, it's going to make you look good when you are saying, oh, this is what I did. But it can go such a long way. Your peers in the industry are going to notice it. Regardless of where I've been, I'm noticing other things that people are doing. Also, it's not hard to miss things when the random keyboard warrior is posting on X or Instagram, and you're seeing it when you do miss that attention to detail. So I think it saves you in so many different ways, beneficial and just as a security.
Yeah.
This one's always hard. It's like you're always trying to strive to make sure that you're getting every little bit of those things. And it's important. It does come through. It says something about you. And I know I sometimes beat myself up when I'm like, oh, I should have caught that earlier. Or we could have got that before. But I do think, like you guys are talking about, it's the constructive, like take it with constructive criticism, that you're going to be able to do this better in the future. It's something that you keep in mind. And then I always laugh because my young staff's like, I don't understand why we do this. And I'll be like, oh, well, if you don't do it, you'll see the repercussions, or you'll see that. And like, I promise you it's worthwhile. And I've always had people, it was funny. I was talking to someone recently who worked in our office and went on to another institution and said, I now really appreciate all the details that you imposed or we talked about, because now I don't see that somewhere else. And it's very frustrating to me because I can't get that on board. So what a good tip.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, details, I mean, especially like in my area and marketing and fan engagement are super important that
Mm-hmm.
everything is correct. I mean, anybody and everybody have no problem telling us if we don't have something spelled right or
Mm-hmm.
that line is just a little bit not straight or however you want to phrase it. So, doing that from the beginning and from the top down is really important because then it's everybody's responsibility to make sure things are detailed. Spelling is one that I always like go back on, like whether we're doing an email or we're writing a script or we're creating graphics for a video board. It's like, is everything spelled right? Is everything spelled right? And
Yeah.
I know that sounds so crazy. And it's like, well, yeah, you have spell check, but I'm like, it doesn't matter. You got to make sure.
Doesn't work in every platform.
No,
Exactly.
especially with names.
Yeah,
Yes.
exactly.
Names does
Exactly.
not help you. You better check with a lot of people.
Yeah. And Jen,
Yes,
like it looks one way on the computer, but when you put
mm-hmm.
it on the video board, totally different view. It stares
Totally
out
different.
way more.
Yeah, and I'm very grateful to our video board, our like the producer who does it at the Dome in Syracuse. She is super detail oriented, so anything that I send, she's really great about checking it, sending back. This isn't spelled right. This isn't even on the board. This isn't that. This looks funny. This looks blurry. Like all of those things, I so appreciate because in the end, if you put that product out there, everybody else is going to notice it if you're not have that attention to detail. So
Exactly.
yeah, that's a good one too, and sometimes gets overlooked. I don't think people think that that's super important. So that's a good one to remind people of, even new people in the industry, about detail.
And sometimes it's the stuff that people are saying first, like your marketing table right at the entrance, or if you have flags or bunting, like that's visuals matter, details matter.
Yes.
That's creating that atmosphere. Yeah.
Yeah. No, that's good.
Awesome.
That's good.
Okay, number 3.
Number three. This one seems like such a given, but it's something I can never stress enough. Networking is so big. This industry is both so big and so small simultaneously. You never know who's going to know people. And so it's like, take advantage of that while you can. When you're a student, you have the perfect background to just randomly reach out, provide some background, like, hey, I'm a student, I want to learn. Use that. I was a TA in college for personal and professional development, and that was something we always said, like, you can take advantage, like, use that to your advantage. And know whether it's you're an undergraduate student or a master's student, you're just emailing to set up informational interviews, or if you're a GA intern, first couple years in the industry, reaching out, asking questions. Don't be afraid to ask from a marketing world. If you want to reach out and ask, hey, any halftime acts you recommend or something like that. A piece of advice I myself and then some of my other peers received while we worked at Wake Forest was travel to away games, introduce yourself to the marketing team at that institution. One, you're seeing a different atmosphere. Everyone's going to have different resources, what they can use, but you might be able to pull some inspiration or and then mold it to your means. But you're also just meeting people in the industry that you could work with one day, or just could be someone you can relate to and be friends with long down the line. You never know, especially because this is such a niche industry. No one's going to understand it more than the people who work in it.
Exactly.
And take advantage of things like NACMA. I think that one helps too, when you can meet people from all over the country. And in different sense, and you are going to interact with people from other of the different areas of focus as well. You might meet people from another business office that you never would have met otherwise, and you don't know their backgrounds either. So super valuable to get that insight, meet the people. You could meet someone who could be setting you up for a job at a different institution altogether. I tell interns and students this all the time. Make good first impressions, because that can go a really long way, especially if you're like volunteering at one event, but that person could be a resource for you for a different opening down the road.
Yeah. So for those people that don't know, NACDA is the National Association of Collegiate Athletic Directors that has a lot of subcategories, and they have national conferences every year where all the different subgroups come together, and it is a great resource for those people that aren't aware of that organization. Please check it out, go on their website, learn about it, talk to people in the industry because they'll be very familiar with it, especially if you're in collegiate athletics. But one of the follow-ups I wanted to ask, like now being in a conference role and you have all these schools that you interact with, it's got to be pretty interesting to pull in people from all these different schools. And then I know one of the things the ACC is really good about is cross communication and cross creativity. With all the different subgroups, like they have facility, like in my group, we have facilities and events. It's led by someone, and you're leading the marketing director's call. So, how has that networking been? It's definitely something that people might not realize how integrated that is.
Yeah, I mean, it gives me a natural segue to branch out to a larger network. We have 18 schools we're working with, and so that gives me 18 groups of directors and interns and student workers to connect with, as well as when we are doing championships, when they're on campus or even random neutral sites where we're bringing in facilities and operational staff to provide insight and assistance as well. We're getting insight from a marketing, like for me specifically from a game production standpoint, going to be learning, hey, this person might have a recommendation from a facilities standpoint that I may have never been exposed to in the past, but that's how they do it there. And we're obviously bringing them in for a reason. And so I'm learning new ways to approach it. But it also gives you, I don't even know the best way to say it, but like when I'm interacting with our marketing director specifically, you're doing it in such a large capacity. In our marketing director's call, we always try to leave an open forum situation just for people to speak up and provide some insight. Sometimes we'll talk about extra yard for teachers promotions or military appreciation, trying to bring our schools together as well as a facilitator rather than just getting the insight for ourselves. So kind of like a facilitator/leader role, but also just from a regular peer role.
That's awesome. It's really cool. It's really neat to think of it from that perspective.
Yeah, and you guys do a great job with that. I will say, like the sharing of ideas and that stuff, like I feel like the schools really appreciate that, to be able to see like, what other schools are doing and how they're doing things. And that's really what networking is, just to see how you can work with other institutions to make yours better. I think the other thing you touched on, and I don't know if you meant to say it like this, but networking isn't just for students looking to get into the industry. It's also for the people that are already currently in it. So like you said about NACTA and all of that stuff, like it's across the board. Just because you get a job, it doesn't mean you stop networking. It doesn't mean you stop meeting people. And we talk about networking a lot, but I think that that's good to kind of differentiate between the two. Like just because you're a student, still do that, still network, meet the people, make those connections. But also when you're still in this industry, even at this point, I'm still trying to meet people and network and see what other people are doing to see how I can do better at Syracuse. So I love how you kind of branched those two. That's cool.
Yeah, it might be a transition. It might not, what it'd be like maybe looking for a position now comes into like, how do I best fulfill that position and get ideas? Like it's funny. And then maybe another time you are looking at, say, hey, I'm branching out, maybe looking for somewhere else. And it goes back and forth, but just bringing that cachet of people and developing that group that you have communication with is so important. And people, I don't think realize, they think it's just a thing that you do really on your career. And it's really not. It's really a much broader concept. So awesome.
Yeah.
Okay. Number 4.
Yeah. This is this is big now, and I've realized it the longer I've been in the industry, but once you're working full time and even as a student, and I didn't realize it at the time, you're going to want to find something that is yours for outside of work to kind of decompress, separate yourself. There is no perfect work-life balance in athletics, no matter what level you're in.
Yeah.
It will probably never happen. If it does, I applaud. Please teach me the ways. But if we wanted that, I don't know if we would have ever gone into this industry. Yeah. So we are partially going into it knowing fully aware, but having that, like something to call your own, if you will, helps kind of keep your mind at a balance, like stress relief or just like a separation. Sometimes I get home from work and I just need to shut the brain off, to stop thinking for a little bit. And that could be anything from like cooking, reading, running. I'm trying to think of things that I know other people do.
You don't run,
Shopping
Caroline?
if you
Come
got it.
on.
Oh no, definitely not. No, thank you. If I'm running, someone's chasing me. That's something my mom has always said, and I now say it like with my whole chest. But for me particularly, it's usually like reading and cooking because they're things that I can kind of just shut my brain off. Cooking is super therapeutic. I'm so focused on making sure I'm not burning my kitchen down or burning the food items, so I'm not eating crispy stuff. But yeah, those are some big things, and especially the longer I've been in the industry, I find more and more valuable. Keeps you from having like a crash out, if you will, especially during crossover season. Very hard. I don't have quite the same crossover season that I used to, but do not get me wrong. The winter to spring championship season is still a little
It's a
brutal.
lot.
There's a lot of less
The
rest that
month
we
of
do.
Yep, February. February's
Oh,
rough.
February to
real rough.
March
It's real
Yeah,
rough.
it's a rough time.
It's rough.
starts for y'all on campus in February, and then March for us, and then it doesn't really slow down much until June. So
Yep.
you just find those moments. It's not always that easy. Sometimes it might just be 5 minutes, but I find that it's super helpful for my own mental health, but also sometimes it helps me sleep better at night. If I can know I've relieved some of that stress because I'm not holding it in anymore. It gave me something to just exit and think about something else.
I love the idea of reading. Like I do that every once in a while, and it's one of those things that you can like pick up and down. Like it's not like something you have to like super plan for. Like you can grab it like at a time and like, hey, let me just go over and take a break. Like it's a great one to do, and it's a little bit different than like watching a show or doing something because it still like activates your brain and whatever you plan on reading, it can be something that stimulates it a little bit more. So that's a one I like. I think it's a good one.
Yeah.
I like it. I like, and we've talked again about work-life balance, and there's never a perfect work-life balance. There never will be. But like accepting that too is important because I think if you are always like, oh, I'm going to find it, you're just going to feel like you're failing all the time.
Yeah.
So accepting it too also helps. And then finding ways to give yourself a little bit of a breather, I think is really important. And my kids definitely give me a breather. They take my mind off of it when I get home. But, I think it's good to have, honestly, I will say, and Maury, you can yes or no, this podcast for me has been kind of like the thing that's my own. And yeah, we're still talking about work, but it's given me something like to look forward to at night or like be able to focus obviously my brain on something other than writing a script and a rundown for a game. Gives me the opportunity to challenge myself a little bit and talk with people. And so that's kind of been for me the last year or so. This podcast has been that. So that's pretty exciting. So
yeah. Awesome.
Awesome. With that, Jen, I think you're at the home stretch here.
Yes, this is the big one. All right, Caroline. So what do you know now that you wish you knew then? So what do you know now at this point in your career that you wish you knew when you first started?
It's more of a mental thing, but like knowing that there's not one set correct path for when you want to work in athletics. It was very easy, and especially for me, to get into this mindset that it was going to be really hard for me to get into sport. It's hard for everybody. So I used to think, I didn't go to a flashy, shiny school, big name. I didn't go to an Alabama or LSU or something like that. I went to a mid-major school with no football. And so I used to think it was going to be so much harder. It was just as hard for anybody else. When I worked at Wake Forest, I worked with a girl who went to Kentucky. We did the same path and went off and did our own things as well. So knowing that there is not that one set path helps you, one, not put as much pressure on yourself, but also give you that hope, for lack of a better term. When you're doing it, it is feasible regardless of what you do. I know people who didn't even start in college athletics off the bat. They worked in minor league baseball or hockey, found their way in college athletics, or the reverse. You never know what the path is going to be. Some people work in college athletics in a little bit and leave to go the MMR route or places like Octagon, Wasserman, stuff like that. And I think had I known this earlier, especially when I was in undergrad and I was putting all that pressure on myself, I would have been able to breathe a little bit more. granted, COVID hit while I was finishing up my undergrad, so that didn't help either. But that would have made the transition so much better. I would have had much more faith in myself, because I'm the first to be really hard on myself, as I feel like many of us are. And yeah, so it's one I will constantly reiterate to other people. It doesn't really matter where you go to school. It's your experience, your work ethic, and the way that you're taking in your experiences and applying it moving forward. That's what really matters.
Yeah. The one thing that seems to be consistent in athletics now is that there's no one single way to get to any particular position or where you're doing stuff. It's, taking those experiences you have and building on them and turning that into a career. And it does make it something different than I think a lot of other career paths that people could take, is that is an option for people. And it's about who you are and working hard and, getting experience, but it doesn't necessarily mean there's a specific way to get that experience. And that's a really cool thought process, and one hopefully people are paying attention to, because, you might not have gotten your first choice for an internship, but that second one might really lead you to something that you really want. So awesome tip.
Yeah, that's great. I mean, you don't even have to be a sport management major to work in sports. I mean, yeah, that helps, but I wasn't. I was a marketing major.
None of us were.
So that just proves right here, the three of us talking, none of us were sport management majors, and we're all very successful working in sports. So that's such a good one. And again, people get so tunnel vision, like we said in the beginning, like, this is my path, this is what I have to do. It's not necessarily that simple or that straight. Sometimes it's a windy road to where you need to be. So that's a good one. Good.
Caroline, thank you so much for doing this. We really appreciate it. We always appreciate everything that you and the ACC does. It's a great experience being a part of the conference and working with staff like you. So thank you for your time and your efforts. We really appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Thank you for always dealing with me, Caroline. I really appreciate it.
Likewise.
That's very heavy. Caroline, you got a lot going on there.
No, we try to make it easy. We're actually, you guys, I love getting emails from Carolina. It's great. But no, we really appreciate you taking the time. This was great. I know we're all busy, so appreciate you taking some time and chatting with us and giving all of your advice and tips. This was great. So
yeah, thank you for having me. I really enjoyed it, and I hope that whoever views this and at whatever point in time is able to take something from it. And just trying to share what I wish I had known and what I've learned along the way.
Yeah, awesome. All right, Maury, I'll do all the socials. I know he's going to tell me to do this. Everybody, thank you for listening, and make sure you're following us on all your social channels at Ath Career Pod, and all new episodes drop every Tuesday, so make sure you're liking and sharing and following us on all your podcast platforms as well. So thank you so much, everybody.
Bye. If you like the 5 Tips and Tricks podcast, make sure to subscribe on your favorite podcast platform. You can rate and review us, including questions that may be answered on future episodes. The 5 Tips and Tricks podcast for careers in athletics is part of Athletic Career Consulting. Check us out at www.athcareer.com. Don't forget to follow and like us on your top social media platforms.